In this week's Science and Environmental Wrap, South Africa is experiencing a nutrition transition and probe into unmanned US supply rocket explosion. Australian Public Health Nutritionist Dr. Elizabeth Dunford says South Africa is in the middle of a nutrition transition. Dunford, who was one of the keynote speakers at the SA Heart Congress in Durban, says while a large part of the population still consumes a more traditional diet, the second half has adopted a Western-style diet consisting of mainly processed food.
Adopting a more Western-style diet is putting South Africa at risk of higher obesity levels and certainly higher levels of all non-communicable diseases or all nutrition-related diseases. And you're an interesting country in that you are right in the middle of a nutrition transition with a lot of your population still consuming a more traditional diet and the other half consuming a Western-style diet based mainly on processed foods. So I think this is why it's really important to make sure that we try and make the processed food supply as healthy as we can, because it's something that's unavoidable, the transition from the whole foods diet to a processed food diet.
Scientists know little about the impact of Ebola on people living with HIV/AIDS. This emerged during an HIV research conference taking place in Cape Town, where delegates are exchanging ideas and information in a bid to prevent HIV. The Ebola epidemic was discussed vigorously at the conference.
So Ebola started amongst poor African people in 3 very poor African countries, and the world watched, and the world didn't mobilize a response. Only when the deaths started to get bigger and the world became insecure did the world mobilize that response.
You know, in the scheme of things, relatively few people infected with Ebola. Now, it's an epidemic and it's a tragic epidemic in those 3 countries, but the numbers are still fractional. They're very small numbers, so there's no reason for panic in South Africa.
You know, we've got to do something about Ebola. We must meet Professor Rees and decide how we put a team together and how we support initiatives that will properly look into this particular problem. So we are committed to ensuring, as the Department of Science and Technology, that where there is need, where there is promise, where there is work to be done, that we are there and providing support.
The National Regulators for Compulsory Specifications has announced revised compulsory specifications for plastic carrier bags and flat bags to be implemented in the next 18 months. According to new specifications, a plastic must be thick enough to be recyclable and must carry a barcode number of the manufacturer so that its source can be traced. The implementation of these specifications is aimed at reducing plastic litter in the environment and promoting the reuse and recycling of plastic bags. And finally, authorities have started investigating what caused an unmanned US supply rocket to explode in a fireball moment after liftoff from a Virginia launch pad. This destroyed cargo and equipment bound for the International Space Station. The 14-story Antares rocket, built and launched by Orbital Sciences Corp., blasted off from the NASA Wallops Flight Facility on Wallops Island on Tuesday evening, but burst into flames moments later. It was the first disaster since the National Aeronautics and Space Administration turned to private operators to fly cargo to the space station. For more science news, visit www.sabc.co.za/news.